Hi, this is Halak and welcome to another Java tutorial session. In this tutorial I will be discussing array lists. If you recall um, from our discussion on multidimensional arrays, in Java multidimensional arrays are actually made up of single dimensional arrays. And the one distinguishing feature is that during execution or runtime the size of the arrays are fixed, so you can't add additional elements into predefined arrays. The way we get around having fixed array is that we use dynamic arrays, and in Java, these come in the form of collections as part of the Java API. Now, collections are predefined data structures, and they're used to store groups of related objects. These classes actually provide efficient methods that organize, store, and retrieve your data without requiring knowledge of how the data is being stored. And this reduces application development time. So, in the context of arrays, there is the API. The collections API provides something called ArrayList. Okay, so let me start showing you ArrayList in code and how that's achieved. So ArrayList. All right, so ArrayLists are part of the way you declare is that you need to know a bit of generics, and in here we're going to declare an array list of integer objects. Right, so in the diamond, the angle brackets, we're indicating that we're going to be storing integer objects. With collections, you can only it only stores objects and not primitive types, but I'll get it more into that. All right. So array list. And this is how you declare it. Okay. Now this part here that I'm highlighting, this is for Java, earlier editions of Java. In 8, there's something called type inference, and you can declare it like that. Okay, so it'll infer from the declaration the type. But since I'm using right now standard edition 6, I have to include that. Okay, so I have to, since I have to import the array list from the util package. Okay, all right, so there we've declared an array list, right, that takes the integer types, right, integer objects. All right, now the way you add to the array is that you use these methods provided by the API. So the first one is right here. So add, and I can add, say, the number 1. You notice that I've added the primitive number 1. It's not the object. What's happening here is that something called auto boxing. All right. So when you add a primitive, when I've added a primitive int type, it automatically auto boxes it. Basically, it wraps it around an integer object, right? And then it adds it to the to our array list. Okay. Now I can print this out. Okay. And by printing it out, I just have to say arr dot and then use the API again and actually retrieve it. Okay. So I can say at index 0, all right, and we can run it, and it will give us number 1 right there. All right. Now this is called unboxing. Okay. Because remember, when we auto box this, when we added it, it's an integer object. All right. So when we actually print it out again, when we retrieve it, it will unbox it for us. Okay. All right. So now this is analogous to You can call this, I can say this is a dynamic one-dimensional array, right? This is analogous to the one-dimensional array that we talked about in the earlier tutorials. All right. So now, what I'm going to do is actually show you a multi-dimensional array. So I'm going to declare here a two-dimensional array. Okay. So again, we start with this, but instead of the integer object in here, okay, what I'm going to do is actually give the parameter type as yet another array list. Okay, so the syntax here may get a little confusing, but again, earlier up here we just had integer, and now I'm saying, well, I want an array list within an array list. Okay, that's what I'm. So that's how you may read it. And so let's just call this array, string array, because I'm going to be storing string types. All right. So again, same notation that I use, and look, IntelliJ knows enough to fill in most of it for me. All right. So now this will be so I say a dynamic two-dimensional array. Okay, so I mean this is analogous to the example we saw in the previous tutorial where we looked at just ordinary arrays. Okay, now if we want to add, okay, so I want to add into the array, I would have to specify. Well, first I would have to actually create, all right, the array list. Okay, because right here we're just declaring that we can actually put another array list within the array list. So here I'm actually going to create the array list. All right, that takes a string type. All right, so this is our. You can think of it as our row 0. Right, you can think of it that way. Right, and if I add another one, all right, and say new. All right. So this you can think of as row 2, right? So row 1, right? So this is because there's 2 rows now, and we can add more and more rows, right? Now to actually demonstrate that we can add into this array here within string array, all right? We will have to do something like this. We have to actually get the rows, right? So here I'm getting the first row, this one right here. And then I'm going to add, all right, I'm just going to say hello. Okay, so I'm adding the string hello into there. All right, and again I can add again. So I can add another string. Right? So let's say hello world. Well, just world. All right. So right there, these are in the first. Okay, so these are, I'm going to say, the first 2 elements in row 0. Okay, so that's just a comment. So now I'm going to say first 2 elements in row 1. All right. So the way I do this is again do get. And I just say, just add to get it first. All right. Then I have to add. All right, so now I'm going to say, how about good? All right, and then again, I do the same thing. This is still in the second row, okay, or within the second array second array list within the main array list. All right, and then I say goodbye. How about that? All right. So there we have it. Now to show that that it actually worked, all right, that we said. I'm going to do this, and then now instead of the length that we had when we were dealing with one-dimensional array, in array list it has a size method. Right? So the size method will indicate what is the size of the main array list that we're dealing with. Okay, so let me just print this out. All right, so let's print out. Let's see. When we loop back up, we probably want to have a new line. All right. Oops. Array. I'm just gonna print this. All right. So so because we want to know which array list we're actually printing first. All right. So there. Okay. And then, of course, this is the outer, the main array list, and now we have to obviously walk along the each element. Okay, so we want to walk along each element in each row, right? I'm going to use the enhanced loop. Okay, so the enhanced loop. Oops. All right, and I say just get. All right, so we're going to use the index I, which we retrieved up here. All right, we're going to say, oh, for each, so for that row, particular array list, and was row 0 here, what I want to do is actually retrieve each element and print it out. Right, so I'm going to print it like this way. Right. Because again, the enhanced loop gives us the string, so now I can just for each element in that array list, and now I'm just going to print it out. Let me just do it this way. All right. So let's try running it. Let's see what happens. Well, I probably should comment this one. No, I don't need this now. Nope, what happened? I forgot something. Ah, here it is. Forgot the concatenation. String concatenation. So here we are. All right. So in string array 1, which is the main one, right? So this is where we're at. I'm just once I get the first array list inside the main array list, all I do is actually retrieve it using this enhanced loop. So each element, it says hello world, which I did up here. All right, and then it loops back up, gets the next array list within that's the main array, and once we have that, using the enhanced loop again, we just retrieve each element. Right, so that's an example of an array list and a bit of generics here. In later tutorials, I will be going into more detail about generics. Okay, so this is just something to show you how to add. You can add elements dynamically during runtime to arrays using collections. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to see you again next time. Take care. Bye.